Everyone wants to live the perfect life. And by perfect, I don't mean absolutely nothing ever goes wrong. Some things are just out of your control. And I also don't mean sitting on a super yacht in Miami. What I mean is that everyone has their own ideal of how and where they want to live and who they want to do it with. And despite the fact that making a formula to live the perfect life is almost impossible, I've tried to make it very uncomplicated. So, the way I see it, in your life, there are four main sections, which are health, social life, financial, and your passion. Health is pretty obvious. I mean, are you fit? Are you disease free? Are you going to be around for a long time? Social life is another pretty self explanatory one. What kind of people do you want to surround yourself with and how many of them? Financial, also pretty self explanatory. How much money do you have, basically? And finally, passion. Passion is just, what are you passionate about? When you think about, oh, what would I do right now if I really could? What would you do? And for most people, or for a lot of people, your passion is something that maybe feels productive, but also semi relaxing, and you just feel really, really good when you do it. So, these, I think, are the four main sections in my ultra simple representation of life. And so, in my little representation, you've got you over here with 80 casino chips. And these casino chips are for you to spend on improving and maintaining various aspects of your life, these four aspects. And finding a balance of how many chips you want to put onto each section is individual to every person. That's what you have to actually think about. Oh, what do I want to prioritize more? What do I want to prioritize less in my life? And where should I allocate my chips? But let's say, for the purposes of this, that your health is out of 25, your social life is out of 25, 25 being ideally how many chips you would allocate to it if you could. So every single section is out of 25. But when we go over here, the problem that most people face is that they only have 80 chips. You only have so much time in your life, time and effort, to allocate towards these things to improve those aspects or to spend more time on them. And so here you're stuck with the problem that you don't have enough chips to satisfy all your wants. And so what do? Some people maybe decide to neglect a certain aspect of your life. A lot of the time, this is passion. And I think that is maybe where people go wrong. I'm not extremely experienced, but I heard something that made me change the way I thought about how to live a happy life. And it was, the people who live a happy life are those who can afford to be passionate. And that doesn't necessarily mean money. That's not what affording means here. That means those people who choose to give up other things in exchange for spending more time and effort on their passion tend to be happy, because your passion is really what drives you. Perhaps passion and social life. Health is what lets you enjoy it for the longest amount of time. And financial is maybe what can actually give you the means to do that, because obviously you can't just do whatever you want all the time. So, but for the purposes of this, let's say that this guy over here, Jim, he allocates 20 chips to his health, 20 chips to his social life, 20 chips to financial, and 20 chips to his passion. So he's already doing pretty good. He's quite close to his ideal life. But he's still not quite there. But what can Jim actually do to improve his life? Well, if we go down here, Jim actually has 20 little chips that he's not using at all. These chips being time wasted, or even things that in a way set you back. For instance, if you were prioritizing your health, going and binging a lot of chocolate like I'm prone to sometimes is not necessarily a massive loss of time, but it sets you back in your health journey, and that setback costs you time in the long run. So this essentially, these 20 chips are your wasted time. And I'm not suggesting that to get more chips you start doing less and less relaxing, because that's just how you get burnout, and that is not what works. Rest is productive. But this wasted time, potentially TikTok, YouTube, anything that when you do it feels like, oh, is this helping me relax really? And is this productive? And how long do I really need to be doing it for? Anyway, Jim has these chips at his disposal if he chooses to actually cut down on his wasted time and make use of those chips. So now Jim's got an extra 20 chips, which he can put into these things, which is great. That's amazing. But it's not easy to necessarily get those chips. Getting these chips might involve overcoming addiction or changing a whole aspect of your life that you didn't think was possible to change. And so these 20 chips are really difficult to obtain. I'll put a little warning sign there because they are not easy. And also, you need to, when you've got these 20 chips, you do need to think about how you're allocating them as well. So imagine these chips represent a certain amount of hours, maybe 10 hours Jim's reclaimed by cutting down on useless things and stopped his addictions or whatever. And so now he's got an extra 10 hours, but it's not always easy to reallocate these things. For example, if Jim were to put another 5 chips into his health to get it up to 25, it's really difficult to then reach your fitness goal and then say, oh, I'm really happy stopping here. That's why the saying is the moment you enter the gym is the moment you'll always feel small. It's not actually that easy to just stop at 25 and think, oh, I'm done. If Jim does decide to commit even more chips to his health, let's say he goes up to 30, it will be so hard for Jim to then go and realize that he needs to allocate that time somewhere else, but he has to take it away from his health. Like, why would you do that? Why would you purposefully decrease your health? And also all that work that he's put in to improve his health will just be gone. So it's really difficult to do that. Health is not an easy one to take chips away from. Neither is social life, obviously. And passion, despite being the one that people neglect the most, I think once people have it, it is not an easy thing to stop. So the easiest, in theory, is your financial. So there's not actually really a correlation between increased financial status and increased quality of life. I think it increases up to the point where you can afford your necessities, and beyond that point your quality of life doesn't actually increase that much. So let's say Jim he had these 20 chips at his disposal, and for some reason he decided he was going to seriously lock in and earn a bunch of money doing whatever. And so now he's got 40 chips out of the original 25 that he wanted. And yes, maybe Jim's the kind of person to get addicted to the rich luxury lifestyle, but generally it's a lot easier for Jim to go and say, oh, I realize that I don't really care about my finances anymore, and it's these other things that are actually going to make me happy in life. And so he might choose to then allocate a certain amount of chips to his health and to his relationships, and especially to his passion. So financial is maybe your chip bank. That's where you can easily insert chips by, I guess, just starting a business or doing extra work, anything like that really, that's not going to burn you out and that you actually maybe semi-enjoy doing at least. Although you don't really have to. It's the sole purpose of putting your chips into financial is to improve the amount of money that you have. And then once you have that money is a lot easier to let go of than, say, your new 5k PB or your new friend that you just met because you spent more time going out to clubs and stuff. Or maybe you don't want to commit less time to your passion. And so these three are so difficult to take chips away from. And when people do take chips away from them, they generally feel sadder. So financial is the one that you really want to be taking your chips away from if you're going to do it. And I'm not suggesting that everyone go and live in squalor because they're going to book clubs 5 times a week to try and meet people and that's their passion as well. Because obviously there's a balance here. That's why he originally wanted 25 in there and not 0 and just allocating everything to everything else. So this is my little draw up and plan of how I would like to live the perfect life. And obviously it's not easy and really oversimplified, but I do think there are things that I can take away from this and that you can take away from this. And that is just that the way to improve your life, I hope, is just to look at what's not improving it. And that does not mean rest. That means things that are actively detrimental or just not helpful at all to your life in any way. It's finding those things and reallocating that time and effort to your actual chips count so that you can put those chips into the things that you actually care about. And that is, I think, what would make me and a lot of people happier. Thanks for listening, like and subscribe.